All right, question from a viewer in Becker wants to know, does the auditor get involved in questions like whether the war on drugs has proven to be effective, and if the state's getting a good investment on those kinds of policies?
To some degree we do, because effectiveness, impact, is really the heart of an evaluation. Sometimes it's difficult to answer those questions. But absolutely, I mean, specifically on drug issues, I know we've done a number of evaluations, and I think it's useful to illustrate that one of the reasons we get asked is that sometimes there are claims and counterclaims about the effectiveness of a particular program. The state of Minnesota spends a lot of money on not only the war on drugs in the police sense of that, but on trying to solve drug addiction problems through treatment. And there is often a debate in the legislature, are these programs effective or not? And one of the things that can be confusing in those kinds of debates is that you have advocates on both sides of the question. You'll have advocates bring forth studies that say all that money you're spending on drug treatment isn't effective because, you know, maybe 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 people really aren't successfully treated. And then you'll have other advocates come in with other studies that say quite the opposite. So sometimes legislators come to us just saying, as an independent party here who isn't an advocate of either point of view, could you go off, review the literature, do your own kind of testing, research, and come back with us and tell us, are these programs effective or not? What's interesting in that particular case, because, you know, it's presented to legislators as either or. And what you often find is that it's a little more complicated than that when you really do the research. And so what I came back with was some programs are effective sometimes with some people, which is an important thing to know, because then your task administering the program is to find out which program will be effective with what sorts of people, with what sorts of addictions, when. And so it becomes a more complicated and nuanced challenge to find effectiveness.
We're seeing this in the judicial branch, not only here but around the country right now, with what we call problem solving or drug courts. And there is actually beginning to develop a fairly impressive body of evidence that they are effective, but not all programs and not for all kinds of individuals. And it's a more complicated question than people might assume. And
maybe not the first time. I mean, another one of the complications is, and I think we probably know this from many of the histories that we've heard in looking at this situation, is that sometimes it's the fourth or the fifth effort at treatment that works. And so, again, it's a kind of a methodological issue for the evaluator. When do you make that judgment that there was success or failure?